What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. In today's episode, we're going to talk all about one of our most unexpected gardening successes that really caught me by surprise. I'm really excited about this. But we're also going to talk about if the ornamental versions of vegetables are actually edible, and I have some seeds to save. Let's go. When it comes to the ornamental version of vegetables, one of the most common questions we get asked is, are they still edible? And the answer is yes. This is a prime example. This is an ornamental version of basil. Now this is known as purple ruffles basil. And I love purple ruffles basil because it's very showy, it is very aesthetic, and it still smells like basil. Now, a lot of people think that because something is marketed as ornamental, that it becomes inedible. And I just don't think that that's a good way of thinking about it. What I would typically say is it may not be as flavorful. It may not be as delicious as it is showy. And so with this basil here, it is very showy and it absolutely is edible. I'm not going to keel over dead from eating this. What I would also caution you on though is the fact that it's very anisey. That's great. Ooh, that's so licoricey. I love that. The bees love it too. What I'd be careful of is that if you get them from garden centers, a lot of times ornamentals are treated with pesticides and they're sprayed very heavily to prevent insects from chewing on them. And so vegetables, a lot of times they're not sprayed with the same type of chemicals. And so if you go to a garden center, a lot of times they're going to be treated a lot differently, which is what, would lead someone to believe that they're not as edible. But if you grow them from seed or you grow them from a small little seedling and you decide how they're grown, they absolutely are edible, and you can certainly grow them for beauty and for food. Ornamentals are often seen with ornamental kale in the fall or ornamental sunflowers, like some of your more bouquet sunflowers that are typically used for flower arrangements. There's even ornamental corn, like your Indian corn, right? The colorful ears of corn. All of those are edible. In the case of your ornamental corn, they might just be a little more starchy, but you could definitely grind them down and make grits or cornmeal. With your ornamental kale, it may not be quite as delicious. It might be slightly more bitter, but you absolutely can eat that. And in the case of ornamental sunflowers, yes, they are more beautiful, obviously, and the seeds are typically smaller, but you can still use them for bird seed, or you can absolutely roast them down. You just gotta try a little bit harder to get yourself a snack, but they are absolutely edible. And the other final one too is ornamental peppers. A lot of times they're just going to be a little more spicy or they might have a little more green taste to them, but they are still edible peppers as well. So just make sure that you are making sure that they're actually a pepper, actually a kale, actually a sunflower. If they're actually of those varieties, you're fine. There's sometimes varieties like sweet pea, for instance, that is marketed as like a ornamental, but it shares the same name as like a snap pea. Don't make that mistake. Those are absolutely poisonous, but they are vastly different varieties. Sweet pea is not the same as a sweet sugar snap pea. More on that in another episode. But when it comes, cabbage, kale, all of those ornamentals are totally safe to eat. So up next, we gotta save some seeds. we had this hanging up here. These were our beans, and we had done this in a previous episode about hang drying beans. And we've since got ourselves some really nice, super dry pods here. We need to save some seeds for next year. And that leads me to a question that a lot of you ask, which is, if you have a seed shop, Luke, how can you save seeds? Well, it's because I like to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. I save seeds. I may not save seeds from everything that we grow, but I do save seeds from a large amount of the crops that we grow, because over time they become climatized. I'm gonna get a bucket to throw these in, otherwise Jen is gonna hate me. I'll put these in here. There we go. Jen is our farm manager, and I like to keep things as neat as possible for her. But so the bean seeds here are just a small example of some of the seeds that we save. We save a lot of tomatoes, save a lot of peppers. We'll save some zucchini from time to time. But the thing is it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to advocate for you to save seeds and to advocate for heirlooms if there's no seed saving happening, because otherwise, why not just grow hybrids? We talked about that in a previous episode where we're losing so many of our heirlooms to hybrids because of the commercialization of the farm, and that has not slowed down. That has continued to increase. And when it comes to any heirloom, the whole purpose of it being heirloom is to save the seeds from season to season. That's why it's an heirloom. And so I like to advocate saving seeds, but I also like to save them myself. Now with these beans, there's a faster way to save these seeds. I'm just going through the slow and methodical way because I've only got about 4 plants worth of beans. If it came to needing to save a ton, what we would do is we would take all the pods, we'd basically remove all the pods, we'd stick them into a bucket like this, and then we would get what's called a thresher. And a thresher is basically it's a piece of rope that's got some knots tied into it, and it hooks on to like a cordless drill, and you stick it down in the bucket and it just whacks the pods, whacks the seed pods, breaks them open and basically busts the seed pods open. And then what we would do is we'd winnow. And winnowing is really simple. It's kind of hard on this, I don't have that many seeds in here right now to show you, but basically winnowing, we have videos on winnowing as well, where the winnowing process just used the wind to separate the lighter material from the heavier material. And that sorts out inviable seed, it sorts out rotten seed, which would also be inviable. It sorts out plant material like chaff. So like these husks or little bits of debris that are not seeds, and they use the wind to sort that out. We do that a lot with seed. And that would be a way that we'd save a large amount of seed in a short period of time very quickly. But I'm just gonna get these seeds here sorted out. And then the final thing is with these bean seeds is we wanna make sure that they are nice and dry, even though they've been in storage out here for going on 4 weeks. We wanna make sure that the seeds are nice and dry, and seeds can absorb moisture from the air. We're gonna take these to our house. This is a barn. Doors are open all the time. There's no air conditioning in here, so there can still be a lot of ambient humidity. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take it indoors and we're gonna let them dry in an indoors location, climate controlled location for another 2 weeks. It is so important you do that so that they don't rot, because if you store wet seed, you're gonna end up with rot so fast. So that is how we're going to ensure that these seeds are good for next year. And one of my most unexpected crops that absolutely surprised me this year was my purple top white globe turnips. Now, this is so out of left field for a lot of you. A lot of you were just like probably expecting tomatoes or peppers or some type of other crop that's a little more normal, but this crop really shocked me. Now, it didn't shock me because of its size. I've grown far larger turnips. These are just a very normal sized turnip. But what shocked me was the fact that I grew them in a time when normally turnips would not grow very well at all. They would usually go to seed very quickly, and they would just be very underwhelming. These turnips, I grew as a fall crop of turnips, and I grew them by just basically throwing the seed in a row and hoping for the best. And now why this really surprised me was because this is a root crop, and root crops do not like dry weather. They just don't like dry weather. We had 9 weeks with no rain whatsoever. It was super dry. How many times did I water? Also, the Shogun turnips did, or actually the golden ball turnips did really well as well. Look at these golden ball turnips. They did so well as well. This really surprised me because, you see, if we were to grow a different root crop, not so much, a little small, but if we were to grow a different root crop, the lack of water would be so evident. The lack of rainfall would be just a screaming obvious sign when we harvested, because the size of the harvest would be relative to the amount of water we got. And that's because these root crops, they store water in their roots. Now, when I planted these about 6-7 weeks ago, and we were 2 weeks into our drought. We are now on week 11, and we've only had 1 rain event in 11 weeks, and I have not watered these since. Not watered them. Densely planted, So they covered the soil, they mulched the soil, kept the soil nice and cool during the hot days, kept any moisture that was there through like night dew or like heavy dews, that kept the moisture in the soil. And that was all we did. That was all we did. Set and forget. And I am so pleased with, we've had 3 harvests. This is actually a small harvest compared to what we got about a week ago. We have been harvesting from these constantly, and they are delicious. They are huge for what we were expecting to get. They are absolutely the biggest surprise of the season. I mean, we got crops like tomatoes and peppers where we thought, oh, it's hot and dry. They love hot and dry. We've had tomatillos do great. They love hot and dry. You know, we've had onions do well. That was, you know, a good start to the season. That was great. Everything that was expected was great as expected. These did unexpectedly great, which is why I wanted to add this into this episode, because I think there's often times where we as gardeners like to superimpose our thoughts on how something is going to go so much that it's almost like I would have expected it to fail, and it was almost like my thoughts were wanting it to fail more than succeed. Did I actually want it to fail? No, but I was expecting it to fail so much that I basically cast it off as a failure before anything ever even happened. And as the crop was growing, as stuff was maturing, I was pleasantly surprised, and my expectations were blown out of the water by a perfectly normal, actually above expectation harvest, given the circumstances. So yeah, it just was a really fun surprise I thought I'd share with all of you. And so we're gonna pick the rest of these. I got probably another 6 or 7 here that are good size. I'm gonna pull up. We're going to take them in and roast them up for dinner tonight. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you all learned something new. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow bigger. Take care, bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, consider clicking this one. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. I wanna thank you for your viewership, because without it, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It's free, and we upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We also have vegetable seeds, fertilizer, or tools. If you need any of those, consider visiting MIgardener.com. Links will be in the description box below. We've got you covered. And as always, we'll see you all in the garden. Take care.